everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Jade and I'm here to help you grow your online presence, multiply your streams of income and build profitable businesses. So today's video, I'm actually doing on a bit of a whim. And the reason why is because an issue with Instagram has been brought to my attention. Now, it's been all the talk in my private community, the Creators Club. I actually need to credit Rachel Ann for this. In fact, I'll put a link to Rachel Ann's Instagram in my description, just as a way of me saying thank you for her bringing this issue with Instagram to my attention. So what is the problem? Well, a lot of people have been saying that they're experiencing a huge dip in their reach and in their engagement on Instagram, right? And when I say a lot of people, all you have to do is head over to the head of Instagram, Adam Missouri's Instagram page, to have a look at some of the comments under his recent posts. In fact, you don't even need to do that. I'm just going to do it for you. Here's a bunch of comments that have been left under his recent posts, all from disgruntled Instagram users who are demanding to know why their reach and their engagement is dropping. Now, there's a lot of speculation as to why this is happening, and I really don't want to sit here and confirm that there has in fact been a global drop in reach and engagement for every single creator in recent weeks, because I don't work at Instagram, so I can't confirm that that's actually true. However, a lot of people are saying that they're seeing a drop in engagement and reach, which usually means that something's going on. Maybe the algorithm has been updated, which is causing all of these drops. Regardless, I feel like people are in need of some tactics and solutions which are going to help them give their reach and their engagement a bit of a bump as we weather this storm and as Instagram figure out what on earth is going on, right? So without further ado, let's get into the tactics that you can start using today that's going to help give your reach and your engagement a bit of a boost. Okay, but really quick, before we get into the tips, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please make sure you do so now. Also, if you're feeling generous, please remember to like and comment under this video. It really helps my channel out. Okay, so this first tactic is specifically for those creators who feel like their audience are no longer seeing their content. And I know there's a lot of creators who feel that way, right? So if you're one of those creators who feel like Instagram are only showing your content to a really small percentage of your audience, which, by the way, Instagram will never show your content to all of your audience for various reasons. But if you feel like the percentage of your audience who are seeing your content is even lower than usual and you're just not happy with it, this tactic is for you. And the tactic basically involves you targeting story surfers. Now, story surfers is quite literally a term that I've made up, but I like to use this term when I'm talking about people who spend more time on their stories than they do scrolling through their home feed. And you might hear that and think, there's no one who fits that brief, right? Trust me, there are. In fact, there was a study done recently which found that most people on Instagram spend more time on their stories than they do on their feed, which blows my mind a bit because I'm not one of those people. I reckon I'm more like 50-50, but you know, everyone's different and a lot of people prefer to look at their stories. So why are we trying to target story surfers? Well, if Instagram are restricting the reach of your post and it's not showing your content to all of your followers, if you find tactical ways to share that content onto your stories or to target your audience via your stories, there's a big chance that you're going to be able to reach more of your audience than your posts are actually reaching, okay? So there are two different tactics you can use here. One requires a good relationship with your audience and a lot of work, and the other one requires slightly less work and slightly lesser of a relationship with your audience. So let's start with the slightly easier one. So the easier method is for you to quite simply share your post on your stories. We've all heard this one before, at least I hope you have, but it's a really simple way to boost the reach of your post. To take that method one step further, you want to make sure that you're providing some kind of context and you're selling that post, because what happens when people are surfing their stories and they see your story where you've shared your post, they might look at that and feel like they don't need to click on that post because they've already gotten all the value from you just sharing it onto your stories. So what you want to do is make sure that you're selling the post a bit. So you're actually persuading people to click on that post and engage with it. So maybe you want to say something like, join the conversation under this post, like in the comments. Maybe you want to say something like, check out the caption for further tips on how I made this recipe. Something what makes people think, okay, I actually want to click on this post and engage with this post further. Okay, so that is the more simple way to target story surfers. Now, the more complex way requires you to have a really good relationship with your audience, and you'll find that this method is going to work best for creators who are constantly being told by their audience, like, hey, I haven't seen your posts in a while, like Instagram aren't showing me your content, right? So if you fall into that category where you're having people message you things like that, then this method is going to work for you. So there are a few steps involved in this, so just bear with me. The first thing you're going to want to do is let your stories expire. You then want to upload a story what includes a poll. The reason why I want you to let your stories expire and then have your first story back be a poll is because having your first story be a story what includes an interactive feature allows Instagram's algorithm to pick up on the different interactions that story is receiving. So because your first story back is a poll and people are responding to your poll, Instagram's algorithm will pick up on the fact that people are responding to your story, and it will basically mean that all future stories for that day are going to be seen by more people, right? So you doing that tactic is going to boost your stories on Instagram's algorithm, which is why I suggest you do that. So let your stories expire, first story back be a poll, not just any poll. I want this poll to say, quick question guys, have you been seeing my content recently? It could say something like, have you seen a post from me in the past 2 weeks? Yes, no. Something similar to that, where you're essentially asking your audience straight up like, hey, are you seeing my content, right? And what's going to happen is your audience are going to respond to that and they're going to tell you whether or not they're actually seeing your content, right? And what that will result in is a list of people who are not seeing your content. So you are going to get a list of people who responded no to that poll, and they are quite literally people who are not seeing your content and who the algorithm, for whatever reason, is not sharing your content to. The fact that they have responded to your poll is a very clear, strong signal that even though they're not seeing your content, they actually want to see your content, right? They're actually an engaged person in your community. So now you have the opportunity to reach out to all of those people and re-engage them. So there's a few different ways you can do this. It could be a really simple thing of just reaching out to them and just sending them a DM saying, thank you so much for responding. I have no idea why Instagram's not sharing my content to you. I really hope they get this sorted soon. And just the act of you sending them a DM and the fact that they're probably going to respond is going to boost the chances of your future content being shown to them, because now you two are engaging with each other, which means Instagram's algorithm is more likely to show your content to them when you post next. Another thing you can do, and I only recommend you do this if you've got a really good relationship with your audience, is to quite literally ask them to do things what's going to help Instagram's algorithm show your content to them. There's things like unfollowing and then following again, which, to be clear, is not the follow unfollow method. I'm not saying that. I just quite literally mean them going onto your profile, unfollowing you and then following you again is probably going to trick the algorithm into showing your content to them the next time you post. Or you can ask them to favorite your account. Not everyone has that feature yet, but if they favorite your account, which will basically mean that when they go on their home screen, they can filter their content to specifically people who they favorited, and that guarantees that they're going to see your content. So there's a bunch of different things you can do in that realm where you're quite literally asking them to take steps and to take action to ensure that they see your content again. And obviously it's a big ask, which is why I really, really recommend that you have a good relationship with your audience before you try that tactic. All right, let's move on to the next tactic, because I know that one was probably really complicated and a bit complex. And you know what? If anything I said in that previous tactic, you were like, what is she talking about? Then head to my description. I'm going to include a bunch of different videos, which is going to provide you with the fundamental knowledge of Instagram and the algorithm that you need in order to understand why that tactic will work. Okay, so let's move on to the next one, which I'm sure you'll be pleased to hear is a little bit more simple than the previous tactic. So this tactic, for anyone who's experiencing a drop in their reach or in their engagement on Instagram, is to think about creative ways to start incorporating more reels into your content plan. Okay, now I know some people are going to be like, I don't want to use reels, or maybe you're someone who's like, I already use reels, but sometimes there's just content which doesn't suit reels. What this tactic involves is finding creative ways for you to turn your usual static content or your carousels into reels. And the reason why I'm suggesting you do this is because if you find a creative way to make all of your content reels, that is going to allow you to reach more people, because the algorithm which powers reels is designed to push your content out to new people, right? So regardless of this drop in reach and engagement, even if you're seeing a drop in reach and engagement on your existing reels, you still have a better chance of reaching more people by producing reels than you would if you were producing anything else, which is why I'm encouraging you to find creative ways to turn pretty much all of your content into reels. And that's something that I'm actually working through on my own channel right now as well. So let me give you a real life example of how I'm doing this, okay? So on my profile, there is a lot of text-based content. I will put a screenshot on here so you can have a look at what my content usually looks like. Recently, I've started to incorporate more photos of like me and my life, but outside of that, there's still a lot of text-based content. I need to get a message across, and a lot of my content is informative and it's like coaching style content. So I need to get text across, which traditionally would be difficult for me to do in Reels format, because previously you would think Reels are not a place for text outside of like captions and flashy text popping on your screen. You would think Reels is not a place where you can get a paragraph of information across. Well, fortunately, myself and others are finding creative ways to actually change that. And I'm going to put an example of a reel that I've recently shared, and I've got so many more of these in my drafts, where I've quite literally overlaid some text, a paragraph of information that I want to get across, and I've put it over a video footage. And I've created this on Canva, and it's pretty straightforward. And essentially what it's allowed me to do is to repurpose old video footage from holidays and stuff like that, overlay some text, and actually transform a post which would usually be static into a reel. And that is allowing me to reach more people because I'm using a more reach friendly format, right? So try and challenge yourself to think of new ways that you can actually transform your normal static posts into reels. And I know it's going to be difficult, guys, but that's why I used the word challenge, right? No one said it was going to be easy, but give it a go. Okay, so another tactic that you can use if you are experiencing a dip in your reach and your engagement, right? And this is a far more simple tactic, but if you've not watched a lot of my content, you might not have heard me talk about it before. And the tactic involves you reactivating your followers before you post. And what I mean by reactivating is going onto your follower list and engaging with your followers' content. And the reason why this reactivates them is because it sends a signal to the algorithm that actually you have a relationship with your followers. And as you can probably guess, that will mean that when you post, your content is far more likely to appear higher on your followers' feed. Okay, so it's going to help you give a boost of your reach and hopefully your engagement too. Now, the main thing what I want you to bear in mind when you're doing this tactic is that your engagement needs to be authentic, okay? There is no point doing this if you're going on one of your followers' profile and you don't agree with anything that they share, or like their morals are completely different to yours and you're forcing yourself to say, hey, great post, even though you actually hate that post. Don't do that. What you want to do is go through your followers' content and look for like some form of common ground, right? Look for certain things that you know you're immediately going to love. So for example, with me, what I normally look for is any photo of a dog. If there is a photo of a dog on one of my followers' page and I'm trying to engage with them and I'm trying to reactivate them, best believe that is the photo that I will comment on, because I absolutely adore dogs. So it's really easy for me because that's a really authentic way for me to engage with them, because I generally do love that photo. It doesn't matter what the photo is, like I'm gonna love the photo if the photo features a dog, right? So that's just an example of one way that I find like a common ground or commonality. Is that a word? It's one of those words that I don't think I've ever used before. It is a word, guys, don't worry. I feel like I do all this all the time in my videos. I use words that I don't usually use in like everyday life, and then I'm surprised myself and I'm like, oh, did I make that up? So I look for things that I know that I'm gonna love, for example, dog content, and I engage with that content. And that way it's just super authentic to me. Okay, so the next tactic that I'm going to give you is to focus on word of mouth. And if you're not familiar with word of mouth, it is quite literally a term which describes people talking to other people about you and your content, but in a positive way. So not people just like spreading rumors about you, but people sharing your profile and your content to others, right? It's a really powerful form of marketing. And the reason why I want you to focus on word of mouth is because word of mouth is somewhat within your control, and it allows you to kind of skip over all the issues you're potentially having with Instagram's algorithm. There's a few different ways that you can drive word of mouth on Instagram. So one way is really simple, and it's just including a call to action in your captions which says, share this post with someone who you think will find it useful, or share this to your stories for whatever reason. Make sure you always give people a reason to share. Don't just say, share this post, because like, why? Give people a reason to share, right? If you can find a reason for people to share your posts, include that as a call to action. And what you'll notice is that your true fans or your advocates are going to pick up on that call to action, and they're going to share it with others. And by them sharing your content with other people, they are increasing the chances of others who aren't within your audience and who are within your audience actually seeing your content. So that's a really good tactic for driving word of mouth. Another thing you can do is to ask people to do things like tag a friend in the comments, but again, always give people a reason to tag a friend. Another really obvious one is to run a giveaway. Now, be careful with giveaways. I think I'm going to do a video on giveaways because they can result in you having a huge audience of just dead, dormant followers. But if you're keen to run a giveaway, you know how to run one well, or if you're subscribed to my channel and you're going to have a look out for my video about giveaways, then that could be a really good tactic for you as well, because it really helps you to extend your reach and drive word of mouth. Okay, that is it for today's video. I really hope you found it useful. If you did, I recommend checking out this video. It is my January review where I take you behind the scenes of my analytics across my Instagram, my TikTok, and my YouTube. And I actually talk a bit about a dip in reach and why I think that is from an analytics point of view. So I 100% recommend checking that out. Thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to see you in my next video.